Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today we are going to be looking at the heartbreaking, eye-rolling, unpredictable, predictable, heroic sacrifice. We have all heard of this trope before, we have all seen this trope before, but let's recap slightly. What is a heroic sacrifice? A heroic sacrifice is when a character, can be hero or otherwise, steps forward to take action and give up their life or something of great importance to them for the greater good. This is usually shown in action, sci-fi kind of things where a character has worked so hard and then realizes that in order to save their friends or to save the world or to save their space station or whatever, they have to stay behind as the ship goes down and explodes in order to make sure that their friends are off to safety. It is also in fantasy tropes where, but they're the chosen ones, so they have to lay down their life in order for life to be restored to the land again. It comes in various different forms. And I say that it can sometimes be heartbreaking and unpredictable because when it's done right, it is. You genuinely don't see it coming, so when a character steps forward and is like, go on without me, or I've got this, or it has to be me, you're just there like, no, you can't go. But then other times it's eye-rolling and predictable because sometimes there are so many red flags and there's so many hints and so many death flags that when they finally are like, it must be me, you're like, of course it must be you, who else could it be? We saw that one coming about 10 chapters ago. We've seen these kind of things in, again, we're going back to mentors briefly because mentors just seem to be the ones that kick the bucket the most, apparently. We see a mentor that has realised that they have no more knowledge to give, they have nothing left to teach our main characters, they are too old to go on, they are not providing a service anymore, the plot is done with them and they need an out, so they're gonna make sure that they lay down their life in order for our hero to escape, and then our hero has motivation to seek vengeance later on and realise that the power was in them all along. We've also seen ones where heroes and chosen ones realise that they are the tool that can restore life or restore hope or something like that in order to defeat the bad guy, but to do so they must perform a power that could drain the life from them, or they have to die in order for someone else to live, and they're heroes, so they're just more than happy to do it. Occasionally we'll even see a villainous heroic sacrifice where we see a villain or a bully or someone who has done wrong in the past have their chance to step up and be like, no, this is to prove my apology, this is to prove that I'm on your side, this is to prove that even though I was the bad guy or I did something bad in the past, this is me making up for it. You guys go, I'll hold them off. And that's a good one, I'll be honest. Because it goes in either one of two ways. You're like, no, you made so much development progress, please don't go. Or you're just there like, yeah, you deserve this, off you go. We have some examples of heroic sacrifice. So like when Lily Potter gave up her life in order to protect baby Harry, that was a hell of a heroic sacrifice. She gave up her life in order to create a barrier around her baby so that the killing curse did not touch him. Mother of the Year. Katniss Everdeen at the start of Hunger Games, where she gives up the one thing she values the most, her freedom in her own life, her own town. She knows it's not perfect, she knows that there's a class system that she'll never get out of, but she is living her life and she is happy in her own kind of way. She gives up all of that in order to make sure that she is the one put in the Hunger Games so that her sister can be spared. Ida in the Owl House facing off against her sister and draining what was left of her magic in order to save Luce, and gives up her sanity and gives into the curse as a result because she just loves her humans so much. Aslan in the Chronicles of Narnia giving up his life and let himself be completely humiliated and practically torn apart just so that the others could live and learn and prosper. Mother friggin' Tony Stark in Endgame, for God's sake. The heroic sacrifice comes in so many shades, and when it's done well, it is fantastic. But this is where we get into it. How do we write a big, good, decent, strong, heroic sacrifice? First of all, minimal foreshadowing. Foreshadowing is a great tool in general, and it really gives the readers something to look back on and want to read again, so that once they know the ending and they're reading through that, oh, it was right there. Oh, I should have seen that one coming. Foreshadowing is great, but don't overdo it, because if you do overdo it and be like, oh, you know, the power's within you, oh, you know, there's this one button that is only linked to your fingerprint, and all the rest of it, then we're going to be like, okay, they're going to die. There's too many hints, there's too many foreshadowing, there's just too much of it. We know this person's going to die, so give foreshadowing, but please do not overdo it. Don't beat someone over the head with it. Red herrings. Ooh, there is nothing better than when you have hints and you've had foreshadowing that someone is not going to make it out of here alive, but you have no idea which one. It could be the person who wants to go home to their family that they haven't seen in so long. You're like, oh, they're never going to see their family. Oh my god. But then there's another one that's like, but I'm the chosen one. Like, oh, you're the chosen one, so you could die. There's so many different ways. There's you know, like, oh, you know, I've been a bit of a dick lately, so I guess I need to redeem myself at some point. Oh, redemption via death. You don't know, and the red herrings are great because it's constantly thinking, you're constantly looking for more signs. Red herrings are fantastic. Give all of your characters a realistic goal and a seemingly impossible goal, because I think if you have someone with a goal that you know they are never ever going to reach, that sends them off for that sends a death flag. You know they're never going to reach the goals, they're never going to get to wherever they want to go, and you're just going to be like, oh, so, you know, that's going to be the kicker. They're going to die before they get to do their thing, and everyone's going to be like, no, they had so much to live for. That's a pretty obvious one. But give them a mixture of goals. Everybody, all unlikely and more realistic, because then you don't know which ones are actually going to make it to the end. They have realistic goals that they might reach along the way. Like, okay, they did their thing, but they still got this to worry about. Oh, they still want to do this though. And it just creates so much more of a kicker, because then everybody has so much more to lose and everyone has so much more to fight for. So when it comes to the heroic sacrifice, everyone has something that they can give up, something that they can never achieve. Everyone's fair game. Have a build up to the realization. Don't just when it comes to someone needing to perform a heroic sacrifice, don't just have someone step forward and be like, I'll do it. Because no one works like that. No one instantly thinks, okay, I'll die here, let's go. No one does that. There has to be a realization of some kind, maybe before they get to the heroic sacrifice point, maybe during the point where they're all arguing of what people need to do. They need to have that slow burn realization of, oh no, this is the only thing that can be done. Is there really nothing else that can be done? Does it have to be me? Why does it have to be me? You need to have the stages of grief and like denial, anger, bargaining, maybe not necessarily in that order. Maybe they start off with acceptance, and then as they're stepping forward to do it, they're like, actually, is there anything else that can be done? Why is there nothing else that can be? And then they go back to acceptance because it's the only thing they can do. Have the stages and have the slow burn realization, because it hits in the emotions so much harder when someone doesn't necessarily want to die even though they know they have to. Again, it doesn't have to be death. Sometimes it can be a musician giving up their hands, someone giving up their memories of the person they love. The possibilities are endless, which means that the heartache is also endless. Have strong build-ups with characters and their relationships. Fully develop them so that, again, we have more of an understanding of why they would come to these conclusions and how other people are going to react. Because no one's going to be happy when their friend is like, I have to do this, but you'll die. I have to do this. No one's going to be happy. So if you have those relationships and that development built strongly, it's just going to come across so much smoother in terms of writing, but harsher in terms of emotional ache. Basically, emotions are your best friend here. have the emotional and angry aftermath. This character has just given up something that they love, something that they need, maybe given up their life. How are the other characters dealing with it? Don't just be like, oh, this is what they wanted, or oh, you know, they were a strong soul. Make it count. Make this hurt. Make them feel grief. Make them feel angry. Maybe even make them try to resist. Do they try to be the sacrifice instead? How does that play out? Why would they want to step forward in someone else's place, just like they're doing, only to be like, no, let it be me? What are the reactions? What are the consequences? You need to deal with the aftermath in order for it to feel like it actually meant something. Because if you just brush over it, then it just feels so empty and lifeless. Much like the sacrifice's corpse. That went dark, I'm sorry. Make it matter. You have to make this matter. Don't let it be just a throwaway plot line. Don't let it be a last resort attempt at making things better. Because that is one of the worst pieces of writing advice. If you're struggling with your writing, just kill someone off. No, because it feels empty, it feels lazy, it feels stupid. So if you're going to do this, then make it count, make it matter, make it freaking hurt. Why would people step forward to be a heroic sacrifice? Well, in some light, it can be great motivation for the other characters, especially your main character, because then they sort of understand this big thing was done in order to help me. This is motivation to make sure that it wasn't in vain, to make sure that their memory is honoured in some way. It really pushes them forward after they've gone through some kind of grief, of course, because we go back to aftermath. It can be redemption, it can be someone who has done wrong in the past or feels as though they've done wrong in the past, or maybe even a full-on villain feeling like this is the chance to do something right, this is to make sure that I actually did something good for once. The revenge plot. You can have a great revenge plot from a heroic sacrifice. Maybe it leads into a sequel where someone's like, nope, I'm not accepting this. I'm going to take down the person that put my friend in this position in the first place. Anger, rage. Friggin' good story. Hurt. Oh, the emotional angst. A lot of people do these kind of things to make it hurt, and it does when it's done right, but God, it hurts. Always have a reason for a heroic sacrifice. Just don't do it because. Because is boring. Because is lazy. Because doesn't feel like a solid piece of writing. Because feels like an excuse because you didn't have any more ideas. The heroic sacrifice is a very common trope, and it can be a very difficult trope to master. And I really wish I could give you guys some more advice, but I am currently trying to deal with my own heroic sacrifice in one of my stories, and it just really inspired me to make this video because it is so much harder to do right, because I don't want it to be throwaway, I don't want it to be just because, and these are the things that I've kind of picked up along the way in order to try and really hammer it home that this had to be done. And it hurts me. But I hope this helped you guys in some way. Give me some examples of heroic sacrifices that you've seen that have been done well, have not been done well, what you would do differently. If you have any tips for me, please let me know. I'd love to hear them. And yeah, I'm going to stop here before I go on even more of a tangent because this is such an interesting topic. I mean, you look at some tropes that people do every single day and they've gotten to a point of being predictable and boring, but then you actually look at the methods behind it and different ways you could go about it in order to mix things up, and it suddenly becomes a fascinating case study. Much like The Mentors, that got split into 2 videos because I ended up being like, oh my god, there's so much here. And I really kind of hope that I get more videos like that because I'm feeling like I got this spark back again. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, I was saying goodbye, I was ending the video and then I started talking again. Yeah, I hope this did help in some way, and like I said, if you have any advice for me, please let me know. I'd love to hear your heroic sacrifice stories, and yeah, I hope you're staying safe, I hope you're doing well, and I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye, my scribblers.